Oh, hi! I have just been practicing some arpeggio-related songs. There was one of those this week, as you probably know. But that was different. I'll get back to that one probably a little bit later. So yeah, working on some of my arpeggio tunes. That was a prelude by Bach, originally written for the Baroque lute. Have I ever shown you guys my Baroque lute? It's nowhere near here, but I'll get to that someday. Oh, we have videos of Muriel playing it, many from a couple of years ago. So, okay, but wait, I'm a little scattered already, this early in the news. Usually I wait till about 5 minutes into it before I totally lose control over what I'm thinking about and or talking about. But today, right out of the blocks, no idea where I'm going in the next 5 or 10 minutes. We're getting close to St. Patrick's Day. It's March 16th here in Northern California and still in much of the world. But of course we have a lot of things going on. Actually, one of the first things I want to mention is something that happened across the Pacific Ocean. A few of our esteemed members getting together and reminding people that there are groups available here at Totally Guitars to discuss all kinds of things, including the International Hosting Group. So if you're traveling somewhere, be sure to check out the group under the community section about hosting. There's chances are there's a TG member that is willing to show you around town and maybe even put you up, or at least recommend a good place around. And we have some other folks getting together at the Puget Sound Guitar Workshop in the near future. I'm going to have to see if I can make it to that some year. Probably can't happen this year, but great idea put out by one of our members, by Dennis up there in Seattle, and it sounds like a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon. So I really encourage these guitar camps. I taught a few years ago. I've done a couple. I've done Keola's Aloha Music Camp once, and the California Coast Music Camp that happens up here in Healdsburg, just outside of Healdsburg. Well, actually, just way off, halfway. Never mind. It's a long story. I should get to what was going on this week, and what I've been doing is kind of, I want to talk a little bit about next week, but I hope I get to that, because we have some surprising tunes coming up. Some special requests are going to be on next week's agenda, and there was kind of, no, this week's agenda was all my own. So what we had happening this week for our Target members, we had a couple of student reviews, as usual. Looking at Rhapsody's version of Blackbird, and Acoustic Owl's version of Ain't No Sunshine. So got a few, hopefully, some poignant or pertinent tips on improving those that other people can carry over into some of their own stuff. Had a couple fly on the wall videos. I'm sure a few people were surprised to see us tackle a Tom Petty song, Wildflowers. As many of you know, my student Kevin really brings in all kinds of cool stuff. And many of these fly on the wall lessons, there's one coming up next week that pretty much, like Me and You and a Dog Named Boo, our thing with Fred, was one of those things where you watch that lesson carefully, and I don't even need to do another lesson on it. You could probably figure it out, as evidenced by Willem putting up his version of the Lobo tune, Me and You and a Dog Named Boo. And the other fly piece that we had this week was Sandy, working on Kimo's slack key. I'm glad Sandy's back in the rotation. She's been gone for a few months. And I know that her lessons bring out a lot of really interesting things for folks. So hope you enjoyed those. And then, let's see, I've talked about the groups. I've talked about, I guess I'm going to get into, we had another slack key tune happen. It was, of course, Grandfather's Clock. And right now in the tuning I'm in, all I can play is the old version. So, but the slack key version that was based on Leonard Kwan's arrangement of Grandfather's Clock is pretty easy to play. Nice little rolling thing. How can we do this? Ooh, it sounds like that little kind of bossa nova stuff happening right there. And then towards the end of the week, we went back into our Buddy Holly catalog. How's that go? There we go. Another song brought to me kind of by Fred, sort of inspired the whole Buddy Holly thing a little while ago. And this week we looked at Every Day, one of his songs that seems really easy, but Buddy's version is a little more complex than most cover versions of it, where people tend to simplify that and make it simpler. And then the highlight for me was working on a tune that I have just loved forever. Well, more because of the context that it came in. It's a little syrupy when you hear it just by itself. But in the middle of James Pankow's incredible suite by Chicago called The Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan comes this tune, Color My World, that, of course, on the surface appears to be very easy to play. Some of it is until we get to some nasty stretches. Whoa! So, as I put the lesson together on that, worked on a couple modified ways of playing that, one of which brings the bass notes down an octave, makes it much easier to play. That puts it in the level of maybe a 5 or so. Playing the original version is really an 8, kind of, and totally useless. But the kind of compound version where we put the bass notes in, playing the part that Pete Cetera played on the bass in there, makes it only about a 7, but we've got some unusual things, some hinges that you gotta, well anyway. Hopefully you guys have checked out that lesson on Color My World. And the other big thing that happened last week was we have a new pack of tunes. Our Damien Rice pack of 10 songs is now available for anybody that is not part of the Target program. Of course, if you're part of the Target program, you've already got all the songs, but a lot of people do like to pick up their songs just in packs. And I was looking recently, we're getting close to 60 theme packs of various things. A lot of them are theory, you know, finger picking, strumming, the lead playing. Which sort of brings me to where I'm going a little bit soon. Who recognize this song? It's the demo version of a song that is on our request list. It sounds like Marrakesh Express, huh? But it's not. Anyway, so I've been messing around with, actually looking at a lot of tunes in the same vein. How's it going? I don't know, we might have to get to all of those in the near future. But anyway, so that's what's going on. Oh, you know what, I have a couple more little things I want to, today is going to be kind of show and tell day around here, because as I was working on the lesson for Color My World, I had to dig up all my old Chicago stuff, including one of the first songbooks I ever bought, back when songbooks were like $1. This one was $1.95. Came out in 1970, I think. It probably doesn't even have a copyright date on it, because all the songs were '69. But back in the days when you could not get accurate guitar music, but this had at least piano arrangements of the songs, and this is what I was working from. Well, not for Color My World, because of course it wasn't on this album, but it did make me dig out one of the dinosaurs of that day, and probably the second concert I ever went to in when I was a teenager. First one was the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young one, the 4-way street tour in June in 1970. 1971 saw these guys a couple times, and they were pushing this album, their Behemoth album, 4 records, live at Carnegie Hall. And this is in the days when lots of stuff came with records, including a thing about registering to vote. It was the 18-year-olds had just gotten the vote here in California, and Chicago tried to make it as easy as possible for all 18-year-olds to go out and vote out Richard Nixon. That's what they were really after, was trying to get rid of Nixon. So they made it easy to register to vote. This album also came with a cool picture of Carnegie Hall and a list of all the concerts they had done up until then, and then pictures of the band and stuff. And one other thing that was really popular back then, everybody my age will remember this kind of stuff, when albums came with posters. This is a poster that came with that album. Is this digressing enough for today? Chicago. A poster that came, well, this is the small poster that came with that album. I happen to have the big one here. Let me grab this. Now, this poster hung on my wall when I was a teenager. Actually, it was my wall. It's 6 by 4 feet. Amazing, huh? And I still have it. And it's still falling apart. But at least it survives. So, this was the heyday of cool stuff for albums. Okay, that's way enough. A lot of albums back then had this. Of course, Sgt. Pepper had some nice little cutouts of the Beatles and other things, and then of course Dark Side of the Moon had some nice posters and stickers and all kinds of things. CDs have just gone, have changed that completely. So, okay, I think that is it. I got to get out of here. Next week, I do have, again, as I mentioned, a couple special requests. A couple very close friends of mine and students and relatives have asked about a couple of tunes, and one really surprising one, I think, because it came to us a slightly different way than the Recommend a Lesson list. And, well, we'll see. I'm still not really sure. I'm still tossing around a lot of things. But keep the recommend a lesson things happening, because when songs get a lot of action on there and they move quickly through the ranks, like with a bullet, I sometimes take them a little bit more seriously. No, I take them all seriously. And, oh, we also have finally updated, I think this happened last week, maybe the week before, maybe I even mentioned it last week. Have updated the target symbols list on there. And so if you take a look now, we're trying to be, oh, and that's the last thing. I really appreciate the responses last week to this. There it is. Can't remember any of my songs anymore. Anyway, that was another fun lesson to do a song on, so I really appreciate the fact that everybody liked that one so much. I hope we get to see some uploads of it fairly soon. It's also a little bit on the difficult side in terms of getting everything to happen, because we of course added keyboard parts to it and all that other kind of stuff. And I think that's it for now. I've gone on too long. I can't go on. I can't go on. So I will be back with next week, first week after St. Patrick's Day, around here in Northern California.